So one thing, those are the things that we're sort of seeing in the short term. But what we're looking at, or what we're seeing in the longer term, is something called data analytics, or you may have heard the term big data, because I've heard that a lot from some of our IT folks, and I'm like, I'm not even sure what that means when they say big data, and it's a big thing. But I mean, an organization's data is not only used for primary reasons like you would for gathering your information for your tax return, for instance, but it can also be looked at or mined in search of secondary and third order type benefits. So it can be used and reused in search of revenue growth, expense mitigation, customer and service improvement, vendor management, and just organizational efficiency. Because it's really just big data, and all it really is taking a tool. You've got all this information, and Dan had that picture where you had that current state of tax, the tax data and process management, where in a lot of entities a lot of the data is all over the place. It's not necessarily in a shared spot. So data analytics is really just taking that data, bringing it all together, and because there's a lot of information there, you can get information like even say on transfer pricing. I know one of the things that data analytics could do for you is that if you've got companies that, you know, every month, or maybe even if it's at the end of the year, but you got transfer pricing adjustments, and sometimes I know for one of my clients, they wouldn't get the transfer pricing adjustment until much later after the end of the year. So when they're trying to make their final payment, and that transfer pricing adjustment always seems to fluctuate. They never really knew what it was going to be, but that transfer pricing adjustment, you know, they kind of always had to really guess what it was going to be so that they can make their final payment of tax and then make an adjustment for afterwards. But data analytics and just analyzing the data that you've got in there, you can analyze more on a much more timely basis as to what information is there and what your actual transfer pricing adjustment should be on a lot more timely basis, basically. So that's just one aspect of looking at data analytics. And the tax authorities, they kind of do something like this whenever like they go in to say do a GST audit, or indirect tax audit I should say, but they use their system and they're just pulling a lot of information from everywhere. Or even if you had a recovery assignment, or if any third parties come in and try to do a recovery assignment for indirect tax, that's kind of what they're doing. I mean, they're just pulling data from everywhere and then analyzing it. And this is really where technology is heading. It's you know, they call it the data revolution, really, and it's not just happening in the tax department, it's happening in all the departments, really being able to take all that data and do some more data-based analysis and improvements. So it's not something that, you know, tax is necessarily going to be carved out of, but it's something that tax will be involved with and will have to embrace at some point, because if the boards are looking at tax more closely, they're going to be wanting more information, as well as the governments as well. With the way the world is going, all their country-by-country reporting, tax transparency, all that, and that's all the information there. There's just more and more information that they're looking for, and they want it a whole lot sooner than they ever had before. So that's where we see the trend in the long term. So in terms of key takeaways, I hope that you can see that technology really is essential to the effective management of tax. It's really key to releasing some of those resources from the compliance process to providing a more effective management of tax, more use of their time, and the value add that technology can provide. I mean, there's a few listed here, just the cost reduction, the improved processes, and the controls, and the more efficient working practices that you have because you've got greater automation and less manual manipulation, as well as cash flow, you know, with the improved visibility around the automated reporting and proactive management using the process management tool and the governance tool, that whole compliance tracking and figuring out where you actually have problems, making sure that payments get get filed in time, your returns get filed in time. That just helps improve the whole cash flow, as well as risk management improvement and just better reporting. And one thing, I mean, technology definitely is a real key to the essential effective management tax, but before you just jump into any type of tool, obviously you need to really assess your as-is state, like what it is that you want to achieve, what you need to achieve, rather than just jumping in and looking for a solution, because you don't want to invest in an additional tool without any clear strategy over what you really need or what you really are looking to achieve. And the leading practice technology leverages your ERP systems to acquire comprehensive tax data and uses tax modules to perform tax-specific computations. And all that really is saying is that the technology, like your transaction tax engine, that's using your existing ERP system to be able to acquire the right data so that you can complete your tax compliance correctly.